All right, so calling the Open Space and Stewardship Policy Work Group for April 6th. Open, and I'm Marjorie Winters, and we've got Susan Messina, we have Tom Zabriskie and Tom Fitzgerald. Um, um, so that's our call to order. Now, minutes from February 28th. Do you have any corrections, Susan, or anyone on those?
Oh, looks good to me.
All right, so I don't think we'll vote because there's just two of us. So if it's okay with Susan, it's okay with me. We'll just file those.
Yeah, we'll just deal with that at the next one. Yeah, that's good.
And then discussion of open space rangers program. Have you made anything happen on that?
I believe Susan sent us material. I think that's a discussion for the larger group.
Yeah.
On that one.
Yeah, I thought we would just, we already talked to Dan, it seemed like we were in kind of a good state. We were ready to bring that to the larger group as a discussion item.
Yep, I think so. And then, we'll map a path forward with the larger group on that one.
Okay. And Tom, you were saying that there's a cleanup day on April 23rd?
Yes, so Saturday, April 23rd from 10 to 12. The town it's kind of taking off on the event that Representative Hampton had run for years and the Trail Council had run as well. So we're kind of bringing everybody together and organizing it under one umbrella, which is the town umbrella. And we're using the SimsburyRec.com site to sign people up. And what we've given them is a bunch of different options, whether like it's Iron Horse Boulevard broken up into sections, or Terrifield Park, or Curtis Park, or they can choose. There's an option they could just choose the street in their neighborhood. It's basically clean your hood up. And so we've created spaces of those. They can stop by town hall starting at 9:30 in the morning, pick up some trash bags and gloves. And if they're doing the trail, there's the trash pickers for the trail that the Trail Council is going to let out. And then they go out to their designated spot. They pick up some trash and bring the bags back to town hall. We have a dumpster donated by Paynes that they can dump them into. And I believe Rich Correa's sponsoring is providing the trash bags. But we'll have some snacks and little things for people there. And I think the Trail Council is going to have some giveaways. So that's what we're doing on Earth Day, or for Earth Day.
That's excellent. Susan, did you want to say?
I was just going to add, I'm glad the town is kind of, being an umbrella for this. Also, if people are interested, April 23rd is also when Flamig Farm is having their big Earth Day thing. So if you want to pick up some trash and then go over to Flamig and have some fun, that's a big kind of annual thing that they have there.
Yeah.
And I know I just sent an email to Tom Roy. I ran into Tom Roy at the town hall, and he was talking about the problem with the Japanese knotweed over by, well, anywhere really in town. But I think over by the play area on Iron Horse Boulevard. And I found a site down in the southwest part that they're doing the Nip the Knotweed program. And that's one where you 3 times a year for 3 years, you chop down the knotweed and bag it and solarize it, which is really to cook it in the sun. And it's just a way of knocking that knotweed back, and then planting some natives in between. But it's one of those things that would be a wonderful opportunity for volunteers. You have to get it around Memorial Day and around the 4th of July and before August 20th. And you just keep cutting it down to weaken it. And it would be one of those things that if we don't do it with rangers, but to have town volunteers come, because it's pretty straightforward. You just cut it at the base and then chop it up and put it in bags. So there's another opportunity for getting public involvement, because that knotweed is miserable. Susan.
This sort of relates to that quick email that I sent you, Marjorie, about possibly applying for wild and scenic grant funding to deal with invasives. And that funding could even cover a person who would kind of be the coordinator for this. And it requires a 25% match, but volunteer time can count for that match. So anyway, I was thinking it's not a lot of money, but it would be enough to just like cover the expenses and kind of cover someone who could deal with it, then it wouldn't be on Tom or Orlando or whatever. And it seems like it would make sense to either apply for this through the town or through the land trust. And I did a little application on a different project, but I know that there's money for invasive removal, and particularly stuff that's near the river. And I think that that definitely counts as close enough
Would be
to the
good.
river. So I don't, to get it done by Memorial Day might be a little bit of a lift, but if people in this working group are good with it, maybe we can get that kind of rolling and approved at our next meeting, or I don't know how we could, I don't know what the best way to move forward with that is, because it is a little bit time sensitive, because the grant would be for money between now and September.
I mean, we could, the nip, so basically we're just hiring, maybe hiring somebody to do the nip the knotweed campaign in Simsbury. More or
Yeah,
less,
well,
right?
we'd just be taking advantage of this little grant program if we wanted to do that. And there would be money in subsequent years, but I know they do have a little bit of money this year. And I think invasives would be something they'd be interested in spending it on. So we don't have to do that program. I'm just putting it out there as a possibility.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys take a look at the rec page to see how we set up the cleanup day, if you think that would apply toward toward basically what we're talking about here, you're trying to get people out 3 times this summer. I know time is tight on this one, but it's not a heavy lift for me to set the site up. It's the back end coordinating, especially during our busiest time is basically from mid-May through the end of, well, it's always busy, but through September. So if there was somebody who wanted to take on the back end part of it, the organization part, I can do the getting the word out part and get
excellent. Yeah, I think that would be excellent. And actually, to be honest, I don't, if you're willing to kind of say that on behalf of Culture Parks and Rec, I think if Marjorie and I work to get the kind of grant thing together, and you were willing to deal with that logistical piece, I think we could just bring it to the Board of Selectmen. I honestly don't think we need to wait until our next meeting in May to get this approved. It's like a little $5,000 grant. It could even go under whatever, Culture Parks and Rec or whatever. I was thinking we needed to wait until our next meeting in May to have open space approved, sending it to the Board of Selectmen. But this seems a little bit excessive for a little $5,000 grant. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah. What would you see the grant paying for, I guess?
Well, the grant could pay for this person if there's any supplies, multiple, if we're going to do multiple sessions, I think it'd mostly be for the person.
I mean, the only thing you really need are plastic bags and pruners. Anyway, I mean, volunteers bring their own, but I mean,
you have to have some there. Right?
Yeah, you can have some there. I mean, that's the only expense involved with this. I mean,
and those can be reused from a session to session. So yeah, supplies, bags. I guess as far as getting somebody set up, Susan, I think that's the hardest part. Is finding who's that person that we're going to pay. Finding them, I think, is tougher than me.
That's why I'm so excited about it, because I have 2 ideas. Is FRWA knows someone who's that person, which is okay, well, if there's that person, that's already great. And then this other woman that I know, who's really a plant person, but she's really well versed in invasives. I thought maybe another thing could be to maybe host a workshop or something that was a little bit more broad based on invasives. And that could be another use of that money. So anyway, that's what I was thinking, is basically it would be to pay these independent people that would be, experts that we could just pull in to contract for this stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Susan, you and I can talk about, look at the grant and see what we can do, and then we can forward it back to Tom and go from there.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
All right.
Yeah. All I really need is a description of the event. I can easily find a picture of knotweed to throw on there. the times that you guys want to be out, whoever wants to be out there, how many people we need, and that stuff's easy on my side. I can do that. I can do that stuff in my sleep. It's the other stuff that would take away time that I don't have from other things.
Yeah, we can work in, because I know Tom Roy wanted to work on this to figure out how to get rid of some knockback that's not weed. So maybe we can get them involved, that department involved.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds
Sounds good.
great. Yeah, this will be good.
Okay. All right. The discussion on using an intern to make open space website updates.
I
Oh,
can
yeah.
start. Oh, just give me 1 second, Susan. I
Sure.
talked to our IT guy today because I've been looking at that site. You're right; it's a train wreck, and we're not really doing what we're supposed to be doing with that site. The open space committee page, a lot of it's outdated. I didn't have access to it before. I got access to it today, and a quick crash course on how to change some things or how to add some things. So it's not rocket science. It can't, the list of things you and I talked about a few years ago. It seems like a few years ago. we could start chipping away on that. But if there was somebody getting into the intern part, that would be great. They could work on it, add other things. I'd love to see some trail. I'd love to get some trail stuff on there. But a lot of the things you guys have been talking about, it's possible. It's not going to be a flashy. If we're using the town site, it's not. It's the town site is somewhat sterile. To me, it's sterile. But you can get basically what you've talked about of having a menu to look through, or even a sub menu on some things. So we can get those links there and hopefully get people to find some information a little easier. The most important part would be directing people to that page.
Yeah.
And we've talked about doing that. I've already made a QR code for that page that we were going to put on it. We talked about putting on the don't mow sign, the no mow signs. So, or other places. So that's in the works on my end. But I just wanted to let you know, I kind of looked into the website a little bit, and I don't see, once we get somebody who would be interested, I don't think the town would have an issue with granting someone access or using, that we can cross that bridge, that's
Yeah.
doable. But so I think it's a great idea. Long story short, I think it's a great idea. It's certainly possible. There's a lot of benefit to get that thing cleaned up and modernized and brought up to date.
And then if we can also get them cross linking to like the conservation website, because we've been asking for that to be upgraded as well. But so a lot of the things can be, open space, conservation, zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, cross-link it.
The town site is it's like a template. It's not, you don't have to build the website. You just have to add the content to it. So it's not super hard to do. And then just figuring out how you want that content laid out. What order do you want it in? And so it can be done.
Yeah, I actually went through it with one of my students to say like, okay, what should we take off and what should we put on? And I made a little made a little PowerPoint of that to suggest like, here's how we could do this. I could show it now, or I don't necessarily have to show it now, but assuming that we're using that existing template, I was kind of in the block form that we had, like listed other topics that we should, like, what do we want to pull off? So I have kind of gone through it and like done a triage, like, let's take this off. Here's stuff that we know that we want on. And then maybe we might want some other stuff too. But, I just think if someone does get access, it would be super easy once we kind of have a plan, like, here's what you need to do, right? So
if you did do if you have that slide, I guess, and want to send it to me, I can try to triage it a little bit. So we're not waiting for that to happen. We can at least make some progress toward that goal.
Okay. Hey. Some of the things are things that I'm expecting that we've talked about, or things that we'd be developing, like if we want to have like a dumping and encroachment policy, like maybe that could be something. If you want to have some information about like, bears, like how to like behave, how to deal with your property, right? So that, could link to something. So I had a few topics like our farm thing. We should just put our like new farm thing that we did and all that. So that's kind of what I put on there. So anyway, I won't bother taking the time now to send that, but it's like, in case I was going to do it at a meeting, I made several slides, which is like, okay, we're going to take off these things and we're going to put on these things. But, I can just send those to you directly, I think.
So let's try to do this. If you send me that, let's make those changes. And at the next bigger meeting, the bigger group meeting, we say, this is what we were trying to do. We've taken those off and we've just done it. We've just done it. Hopefully, I can, it'll be a training experience for me on how to figure this out a little bit too.
Okay,
So,
perfect. Yeah, this would be a super simple thing to do. Okay.
all right.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll send you this. They'll send you my excellent slideshow.
All right. All right. So item 4 is oral report on the agricultural lease RFP update. Is there?
So I can, this would normally be, I don't know if you know, Susan, Tom Hazel has left the town, unfortunately, but we'll miss him. But so I can give you, I know tonight at the Board of Selectmen meeting, they're going to approve. We did get some proposals back from the RFP. The farmer who had been leasing the 6 tobacco barns on the back of Meadowwood, he's going to re-up. He's asked to re-up for 5 years with a 1-year extension every year. Assuming everything's going well, another year would be added to that. It's $9,000 per year, $1,500 per barn, so $9,000 total. The farmer who had previously been leasing the 86 acres along Hoskins Road has re-upped, or would like to re-up. It'll be approved tonight, hopefully. That 86 acres, again, he's growing like grains for, I think he's growing barley, I believe, for craft beer and other things. That is like, I think $25,000 a year it comes out to be. And this money gets put back in. I've already checked with Maria. It goes back into the open space account. So for future maintenance or whatnot.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that's great because that's really great. Yeah.
And then there's another parcel. There was that small parcel on Barn Door Hills Road. It's about 5 acres or just a hair under 5 acres. Stephen Antonio has put in a proposal to rent that for $400. That was the only response we got for that, was $400 a year, I believe. And I think I've heard what he's intending to grow is like kale or forage stuff, whatever that means. So that's the update on the RFPs.
And the new leases that we have, they've agreed to comply with the
terms that the terms that we had put in the previous in the RFP in our ag lease policy.
Good.
So they've had to agree to actually have the other proposals on their forms here that we had all set up over those few months. The town attorneys looked us all over, and I believe it's ready to go. It's ready for the Board of Selectmen approval tonight, or acceptance.
And who's supervised? I mean, I think that at some point they have to do a report at report in at the end of the year how things have gone. Who's going to be looking over those?
I don't know the exact answer to that, Marjorie, but I would assume it's the land use department, and whoever comes into Tom Hazel's position would probably be designated as that person, since it was previously under his watchful eye, I guess.
Right. And would they report back to the open space or no?
I think it would be an oral report from the representative. So not necessarily myself, but the new Tom Hazel would be an annual oral report, I guess, rather than having that person come into us, unless they were into you, I believe.
No, just the staff person. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Any more on that? Okay. And then communication from Audubon Society. We did.
I'm not sure if you read he emailed everybody, or it was distributed to everybody, and I say he because I met with Doug Beach out at the property a few weeks ago, last week, and I'll let you read the discussion on that. Why don't you tell me what you thought about the note first and where you would like to see it go, then I'll let you know how the discussion went and what my thoughts are on it.
Well, I know there's a great interest in the Hartford Audubon in identifying areas where the active bird life, and there's a great deal of interest. I've heard from several people in town that they want to know what the status is on coming up with a plan for the possible trails and how the land is going to be used. So what's the status on, and so that's why I think we're getting the input from Audubon.
Yeah. So I think you've heard me say this before. I think it's sometime in the future, whether it's the fall or summer, whenever it happens, I think that there should be some kind of a subcommittee or some kind of a long-term planning committee that, let's do some brainstorming and see what it's going to look like. Whether it's a trail or any the maintenance plan. Obviously some of it's going to be farmed, some of it may not be farmed. How does the town want to use it? We have that 24 acres. There's nothing in the capital plan right now that's funding any projects out there. So I met with Mr. Beach and we went out there and talked, and they have some interest in putting a bird kestrel falcon box out there, a birdhouse, I guess. So him and I worked together. We found a spot. They suggested a location. We went out and looked at it. I've okayed that. And then now they're also interested in doing some bluebird houses, I believe, as well out there, which I've okayed that. They're out of the farming, off the agricultural land. So they're gonna be putting in some of those. We're gonna assist with the hawk box because it's a deeper hole. But my feeling was while the letter is very informative and I learned a lot when I was out there with him, I hesitate to commit to anything long term, because it's not my place to commit to anything long term. But the town hasn't, we have this great gift in front of us, and we haven't talked about where trails are going to be laid. I've suggested maybe we put to the farmer that we'd like to maintain a trail around the perimeter of the field at this point. Same thing we'll do the same over at the Firetown Road piece as well. We'll maintain an access trail around, so you can walk around the field. You're woods on one side, the meadow on the other. And then your group and I and Orlando have talked briefly about long-term mowing plan, whether it's fall, spring. Those things kind of need to be set out. I'm not sure we're all going to be calling it Meadowwood next year. My preference, this is only Tom Tyberski's opinion, is maybe we should think about calling it something different than Meadowwood.
It does
all
get
of those
confusing.
things.
It does.
What's that?
It gets confusing with the, it is a confusing name for it.
Yeah, my personal opinion is we're calling it Meadowwood because that's what the realtor designated.
Yeah.
Do we really want to be calling this town parcel something that had such a negative connotation for a decade and a half or more?
Well, that too, and then there are also the meadows, Simsbury, the performing arts.
Simsbury Meadows, yeah.
Well,
Yep.
that also gets confusing. So
yeah, and I'm not saying call it the Susan Macedo parcel or anything like that. I'm just saying
why not?
there should be some thought put into what we want those trails to look like. Would we allow mountain biking over there? Would we allow, when are we going to mow it? There's a lot of things out there. We have this very large piece of property that we haven't gotten to that point yet. And the Audubon Society, I appreciate what they're doing. And I certainly, there's no intent to go over there and disrupt the environment anytime soon or ever. But before we commit to any policies or recommendations, we should have all had a chance, whoever those people are, that select committee is making a recommendation to the town. That needs to be, I think those steps need to take place first, my opinion.
I think so too. I know originally when we purchased this, and I think the Trust for Public Land came in and said, there was meetings and everyone's going to have an input into what exactly this property is. So I know we're getting questions from the public about what exactly is going. So I think it would behoove the town to set up some sort of a committee to look at this and try to figure out what it is that what it is we want to do. And we probably should get that started. I know there's a lot of transition going on with staff now. So once that's
I would think maybe the next larger group meeting, that should be an item of discussion, and maybe there can be some starting to map out what that would look like. And I'm not saying I know. I don't know. I'm just saying I think from my perspective, that's looking at it from afar. That's what I think should happen before we start. Where do we want signs to go? Like by the road? What is that? I don't want to order any signs over there that say Meadowwood because we might change the name, or I don't want to be stuck with that until I know for sure the town wants to call it that.
No, I think that it definitely needs some plan. We don't know where we're going right now, so we need to have some planning so we can get there.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say already we rented out the barns, we got an ag policy in place. we rented out the land. Those are already three big things that we did. And, you know, everyone's like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I mean, there's no emergency to do something, right? So I just think we should slow this train down and think through it, because there's no rush to like worry about what we're going to do.
Right.
No, but we have to start planning for what we're going to do.
Right. Let's start thinking about what we want to do. And
Absolutely.
so I'm just encouraging like some time to incubate it. And it's great that Audubon provided all that information. We should collect a bunch of information and figure out, you know, make sure we take into account the other information that Trust for Public Land collected on like the other habitat issues and stuff like that, because birds are one thing, but there's connections and other things that we need to take into account. So I think we need kind of like a big lens that has some time, that does not feel pressure to do something.
But we should start thinking about what group is going to be doing this. I mean, who, when, you know, at least get that part, sort of start thinking about collecting, you know, who's going to collect this information, you know, what group is going to be involved in this decision-making process, and how this land is going to be used. And it will require town input too. I mean, citizen input.
Again, I just work here, and I care deeply for I care deeply for the town and my job. But we need direct. You know, like you said, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And eventually we need direction. So,
well, I would think that,
when I get a letter like that says we should do this, you guys should do that. Well, I don't think we've ever gotten to that point where somebody can say to us,
no.
That's in the input phase. So that they're just jumping the gun and getting to the input stage before we've even asked for it, which is great, very well intentioned. I think it's great, and I had a great conversation with them, and we look forward to working with them in the future. It's just too early to give a reaction to it.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, there it is, but I mean, but I know people are going to be starting to ask what's going on. So
yeah,
somehow at some point the town's going to have to call a committee together to start working on it, however long it takes to make up the decision, based on the various information bits that we get, the input that we get.
Well, that's why I'm saying what's going on is we rented the barns, we rented the field, and we put a lot of time into developing our ag policy, which we're now applying to that property. So those are things that we've already, put a bunch of time into doing. So I think that those are good answers for people who are wondering, what are we doing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But we still need a plot for the other, what is it? The ag land is 117 acres, and then there's the town portion, and then there's 135 acres for the other part. And you're right, there's no great hurry, but it still needs to be on the horizon, on the radar.
Well, we already put that other part is the corridor that's basically under the natural stewardship. And we also have a plan to have, what I hope will be kind of an accessible trail around the perimeter.
Yeah.
Right. You're talking about keeping that access open around the perimeter. I think, so now we've already done 5 things. We've rented the land, we've rented the barns, we have our ag policy. We're going to keep the perimeter trail open.
All right.
And, we've already had some discussions about, could that be an accessible trail? So people that are mobility impaired, I don't know, that's a thing we can put on the table, but I think there's definitely some good things that are already like in the works without,
okay. All right.
So I'll add a 6th and 7th thing since we're counting off things.
Yeah.
Susan, I'll add to it. Those barns, all the remaining 5 barns along the streetscapes on Firetown and Hoskins, they were braced last winter, fall. We're going through the grant process with the state to see how much money we're going to have to restore, and going through an architectural review. We actually got, I'm probably spilling the beans here, but we got approved today for a $40,000 grant to do an architectural study on those barns to see what it's actually going to take, depending on what kind of use we want to have in there. Do we want to open one of them up to the public, be able to open up one to the public once or twice a year or 3 times a year? We have to determine what that use will be. Then the study will tell us how much it'll cost. Is it feasible, and how much it'll cost to do it? So
phenomenal. Yeah. So those are, so we
there's
already
more.
are doing
There's
a
more.
lot. Right.
And
That's
then
right.
then what we really need to do for the field part is come up with the mowing policy.
Yes, at some point we have to have whether it doesn't have to be the same for every
Are we
place.
mowing
but-
for grasslands? Are we mowing for forests? I mean, it's that all we have to do is come up with a decision that way.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's it. That is a decision that we should
Yeah.
make sooner rather than later. Okay. Good.
All right. And then
Look at that.
and yeah, we're done. I just wanted to say, I'm going to be sending you the policy from Newtown on town native plantings, and I think that's something that the open space, we can bring before the open space. I think, would that have to go before Board of Selectmen, or how would that work? If we had a policy for the town being, telling itself that it needs to plant native plants as a,
That would be a board of selectmen policy, because it's going to affect not just the rec department, but this could even be sewer, could be anybody doing projects on
Yeah.
town property.
Yeah.
So
So I will send that on to Tom Fitzgerald. Who's going to be doing? sending this out?
we're in that transition period, Marge.
I don't know. So we'll send it on.
Why don't you send it? Why don't you send it to Maria, myself, and Tom Fitzgerald, and then we'll see who picks up the ball and starts running with it.
It's like a jump ball. Okay.
No, it's tough because the town
I
planner's
know.
starting next week, and then they're looking for an assistant town planner. There's a lot of stuff going, a lot of moving parts right now.
Yeah, so I'll send that on to you because I think it's nice to see that Newtown has done this, already passed it through them. It's sort of like when we designate ourselves as a pollinator friendly town, there's proclamation, but this adds a little bit more teeth to it, and just as a guideline for plantings. And I know the town of Canton is also looking at doing this. So
Yeah, it's not a big leap for us. I think we're all doing
We're
it.
there. we're there, but
doing
it's just a nice, it's already written, so I'm just cribbing from theirs. And with a few little there are some minor adjustments that we have to make in the text, as that tailor it to us. So just need some help with that. But I'll send that on, and then we can get that on the agenda for, maybe even the whole group to discuss. I don't know if we need to do it for the work group, but unless, there are things that you see when you look at it and you say, well, but I think it's pretty, it's pretty done because, the town of Newtown has already, gone through it. So they've done the legwork, the heavy lifting. So.
Yeah, that sounds great. We can put it on our website.
Yes.
There you go.
And I think in Newtown, it not only affected the town, but I think they were requesting businesses to do it too. So, and it's not one where they have to do it immediately. They just have to, anytime they replace a new plant.
Yeah, well, that's with the land use, like your board or those planning and zoning would have to, when those developments come in and they review them, that's kind of where they're falling into that.
Yeah.
So
I know conservation would be on board. So, all right. I'll send that on. And do we have anything? We don't have anything else? Anything, Susan? No. Okay. Good. All right. All right. Adjournment. Susan, do you want to say? 12 seconds. Robert rules does not apply to this. All right. All in favor. We'll have an adjournment. All right. Thank you, guys.
You're
Thank you,
welcome. Have a
Marjorie.
good night.
All right.
All right. See you later.
See you.
Bye.